What's it like to homeschool a child with dyslexia? A very creative child who isn't really good at doing normal schoolwork. They really struggle with memory. They struggle with reading, writing, and spelling, and they have a really hard time learning through books.
Who are you talking to?
Who am I talking to?
Yeah.
I'm talking to the moms. Be quiet. Okay, so I'm going to show you what it would look like to use fun schooling curriculum from Thinking Tree Books and Dyslexia Games with a child who struggles with reading, writing, and spelling and has memory problems. Kids who just can't memorize spelling words and math facts. So I'm just going to show you all the books that I would recommend. This is a gender-neutral collection of books. Also, it is the whole curriculum doesn't include any references to the Bible, and this is about 3 years worth of homeschooling materials for a child who is in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade, but still struggling with reading. So first of all, I want to show you Dyslexia Games. Dyslexia Games is a series of logic-based reading and writing activities that help a child who has problems with reading, writing, and spelling. And kids with dyslexia really thrive with this program because it begins with logic games. And by the time the child who can't even read completes the program, they're able to do activities like this. So you can have a child who can barely read 4-letter, 5-letter words, can't spell, is still reversing letters, and they go through this program starting with activities like this and finishing with activities like this. Once they get through Dyslexia Games, the child is usually able to move on to normal schoolwork. So first, you would use Dyslexia Games, and then you would be able to move on to something like this, All About Dogs Fun Schooling Journal. It's a do-it-yourself curriculum handbook with 365 pages. And everything uses the dyslexic font. And then maybe a math book like this one, a field trip journal like this one, and a social studies journal like this one. And then you might be able to add in a reading time journal, a spelling time journal, and then they could even move on to learning cursive with this comic book cursive spelling journal. And all of the Thinking Tree books use a dyslexic font. Of course, at some point, they're going to need math, and they're going to need the math to advance. And the Thinking Tree does have a few math books that creative kids really love, like this one that is all about art projects and pixels. This is Math, Craft, and History Activity Book. This is multiplication games, and it uses logic instead of memorization to teach the multiplication facts. This is the Creative Kids Yum Schooling Cookbook, step-by-step dessert recipes, once again using a dyslexic font, and teaches children how to use math in the kitchen. And kids who are still struggling with reading are going to need an older child or parent to help. But since the book is written with the dyslexic font, you'd be surprised at what your child will be able to do on their own after they finish Dyslexia Games. And then we also have some science books. This is the Do-It-Yourself Science Handbook and Portfolio. And this covers my science books. So they'll pick science books on whatever topic they love from the library. Science tools, research and reading time, experiments, biographies, science stories, discoveries, vocabulary, spelling, films, tutorials, science projects, keeping records, essays, creative writing, making your own periodic table. So this is a science journal, and this will last your child about 3 years. It's wonderful. This is a nature study handbook called 12 Months in the Forest. It's a curiosity journal, and it's so that the kids can get outside every month and learn how things change with each month. And they're going to study animals, plants, things that live in forests and things that live near you, and how that changes with every passing season. For geography, once they get stronger in reading, they'll be able to move on to the American History Timeline or the Do-It-Yourself United States Geography, History, and Social Studies Handbook. This United States journal is organized by state. This one is organized by time period. And they get to create their own timeline for each time period. And so we would recommend doing this one first, and that will last a year or two, and then start this one, and they can continue to use this one on to junior high. This one would take a whole year to complete because you're supposed to use the pages from the month that you're in, and it's not an everyday thing. This is something that you would do once a week maybe. Now, a lot of kids need more math than what we have in the fun schooling journals from the Thinking Tree. For my kids, this is really enough, but a lot of people want a math curriculum that will prepare their kids for standardized testing. Maybe it's required by your state. And so this is some recommendations for fun schooling math that is really practical and relevant. Math lessons for living education, Life of Fred math, the Big Fat Book of Math, and my son Joe's favorite, Murderous Math. So you can still fun school even with math. And it's a little bit more spelling. This spelling book covers animals, instruments, and geography while they're learning a lot of spelling words. And then if you're a mom who loves classical literature, this is a really wonderful fun schooling book of classical literature. The child will read the story and then complete the activity pages. One of my kids was doodling in this one. So what I've shown you mostly so far is different subject journals, but at least 3 times a week, it's good to have a day of using a core journal. A core journal has all the subjects in one book. And so this one is a core journal that's all about animals, and it covers reading, handwriting, creative writing, spelling, classical music, mathematics, science, history, art, drawing, library skills, and unit studies, logic games, all in one book. And I would have a child do the same number of pages as their ages. So if they're 8, they would do 8 pages. If they're 10, they might do 10. It works at our house. Might be different for you. This is the All About Animals Creative Writing and Research Journal. It's very simple. has drawings of animals and a place where the child can write. And then as they get closer to 5th grade, this is a homeschooling journal that is a little more schoolish, but it's fascinating because it's teaching in a very logic-based way a fun story about a little pig that used to live at a factory farm and moved to a family farm. And it's written by an organic farmer. Your kids will love it and learn a lot, and it covers science, social studies, and language arts. Now, this is a core journal, and this is for your older kid. Once your child is, 10 or 11 years old, they'll be ready for this one. This is a core journal for a child that's a little bit younger. This could be a great first core journal, especially for kids who love pets. And then last of all, I want to show you it's really important for the kids to have their own secret diary or secret journal. And so I made these for my kids, and this is something that they can use that I don't check unless they want to share it with me. And it has a place to draw, it has a place to write, and they can just be really creative. And it's really good for a dyslexic child to have a book where they can freely and creatively write and create stories without worrying about being criticized. Because when a dyslexic child is doing creative writing, at first they're going to have a lot of trouble with spelling, but they're so creative, they just want to get their story out. So I would encourage that with the creative writing, they have the freedom to write whatever they want and are not limited by their ability to write. Also, all of our core journals encourage kids to watch documentaries. And so watching a documentary is a wonderful way for a child to learn without having to do the reading. Dyslexic kids are thirsty for information but have trouble learning it by reading books. So make sure you give your dyslexic child lots of opportunities to learn without the reading, because the reading will hold them back. They need to be able to learn by listening to audiobooks, by watching documentaries, by going places, doing things. One of the best ways for dyslexic kids to learn is by actually doing projects. And this is why this book is so wonderful, because it has 15 craft projects or cooking just all these different projects that kids can use while they're learning to read, write, spell, and do math. So thanks once again for watching this little video about homeschooling a dyslexic child and helping them to move through 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade using Thinking Tree books. And this really is enough curriculum for about 3 years, and you never know what level your child's going to be on, and so you just have to be open. And once again, before they're going to be able to be really strong with the reading and writing, they're going to need to overcome a lot of the problems associated with dyslexia. So please pick up Dyslexia Games at dyslexiagames.com. Your child between the ages of 8 and 11 is probably going to need to start with Series B. And it's really designed for kids who love animals. And when I am homeschooling my kids that are between about 8 and 11, usually they're really passionate about animals. And that's why so many of these books are animal themed. So have fun homeschooling. Don't be so stressed. Enjoy. Bye-bye.